Okay, before we start our official meeting, we always encourage local pastors to come and pray for us and people of Clermont County. Today, no exception. We had Pastor Stephen Rogers, who's scheduled to be here today, from the Milford First United Methodist Church. He's unable to be here because of restrictions of the COVID-19. And so I've been asked to fill in for it, and I'd be honored to do so. We'd like to pray this morning, please, God. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come before you, to come before here. Lord, we thank you. We be with those who are in attendance today, and be with those who are watching by virtual reality, social media. Lord, we just ask now that you be with those who wear the uniform of the law enforcement here in Clermont County. And Lord, we ask you to be with those first responders and those who are out on the front line who are protecting our citizens in the time of COVID-19. We ask that you keep them safely within your hands. This virus won't be brought home and shared with their loved ones. Lord, we ask for those who are ill today, and you be with them. Restore them to their health. As we start this meeting, Lord, we ask you to be with us in all these things that we do. Help us with the decisions that we make in Clermont County Board. Those decisions will further the safety and the health of the citizens here in Clermont County. We ask for all these things. Now we start our official meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. We are represented here by the Clermont County Sheriff's Office this morning, Sheriff Blake and Chief Stratton. Sheriff Blake, would you start us off with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for coming this morning. I now declare this meeting of Clermont County Board of Commissioners for May 6, 2020. And we will start with the regular agenda. I'll move to B, approval of regular session minutes of 4/29/2020. Board, you get the opportunity to review those minutes. I'm going to provide it to you before this meeting, and you get the opportunity to review clarification. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of 4/29/2020?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Roll call, Judy.
Yes. Humphrey. Mr. Humphrey?
Hi, I'm sorry, I don't hear well. The volume on my end is very low.
Okay. And before I move on to item C real quick, Greg, I didn't know that we have the standing update from Julianne Nisbet, our health department. Julianne, are you on this morning?
Good morning. I am here. So I will let you guys know it is a little difficult to hear from my end also. I don't think it's just Ed on the volume a little bit. So I just ask that if you're asking me questions, please speak up. I would appreciate that. So we have Clermont County. We have 109 cases currently, 3 deaths. We've had 27 hospitalizations, and we have 58 individuals who have recovered from COVID-19. On Monday, you'll notice that the Ohio Department of Health started looking at a 21-day trend instead of the 5-day trend that they had previously looked at. That is really a little bit more helpful in kind of determining if we're going up or down as things kind of progress. Obviously, case counts are going to go up. We know that. The more we test, the more we're going to find. So we really try to focus a little bit more on those hospitalizations and kind of ICU numbers where we look at trends. And then obviously looking at deaths too, but those do have a tendency to lag a little bit with it. So we have been additionally working with the new Stay Safe Ohio order that went into effect. We've been working with several of the businesses who just have kind of general questions about things. And then if there are concerns from employees, customers or anything, they can file complaints online with us, or if they do call in, we can facilitate that way also. We've had about 20 complaints this week, as we kind of work through some things. A lot of them just have to do with general questions on mask use that is, spelled out in the order under Section 8. So we do encourage individuals kind of read that section and then, apply it to their facility, however that may be with it. So, and then if they do want to file a complaint online, they can actually go to our website, which is at ccphohio.org. There's information on coronavirus, and then there's some frequently asked questions on the orders and the ability for them to file that complaint online. And then if they needed to reach out to us directly, our main line is 732-7499. So are there any questions I can answer at this point?
Julianne, maybe some questions and just a discussion here for the board, some clarification. You're aware that a couple of counties here within Ohio have issued some letters to Governor DeWine about opening their particular counties. One of those counties particularly identified all businesses as essential and said, we're going to go back to open these counties kind of in a little bit, defiant manner of what's going on. And one of the things I just wanted to talk about was in those letters and some of the commentary that went with them, there seemed to be some type of a confusion. And that confusion surrounded Article 12 of the, I believe, the April 30th Stay Safe Ohio order that Ms. Acton issued. And it had to do with retail. And from what I understood, the question that they were asking, the last section of Article 12 would have allowed the business that they were talking about to go back to doing business. Could you just kind of clarify, Section 12 and in those retail establishments that were closed as of April 30th?
Sure. Yeah, and I think it's one of those that the order, I understand where confusion can come in at times. You really have to read the entire order because different sections will talk about different things. So, really before I get to 12, I'm going to clarify for Section 13 is really the entities that are still closed. And the order moved away from this essential, non-essential. All they're saying is the businesses in 13, which are really those entities where we really can't social distance very well, and there's some high contact things being done. Those are the ones that are still closed on it. The majority of other businesses kind of fall in Section 10, 11, 12 on it, 10 kind of being that construction, manufacturing, distribution, 11 general offices, and then 12 is retail. And there is a line that is in 12, that kind of last line that talks about any establishments and facilities that were closed, they can restrict their operations to curbside pickup, delivery, and appointment only. And it does have in parentheses with a limit of 10 customers at one time. They could have reopened effective May 1st at 11:59. And we are aware of many businesses that are doing that throughout Clermont County. And again, if business owners have questions regarding that, we will be happy to talk to them. We have people on our call queue, that are kind of able to answer some of those questions. If the person on the call queue can't answer right away, we'll get their information and get back with them.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that, because when I had actually read that commentary, the business that they had an issue with was one of those businesses that really could have reopened as of May 1. And also, just while we're talking about it, page 9 of that order also has another under B that you take a look at. And it kind of groups together retail, if I remember, consumer retail and services. Could you just talk about that a second?
Yeah. So, and again, that's what we're looking at in interpreting that, if depending on what your business falls into. And so when they look at consumer retail and services, the only caveat I'll give you on services is, again, if you're listed in Section 13 as still having to remain closed, you would have to remain closed. If not, then you kind of fall into that category where you could be doing business by appointment only, curbside pickup, or again, limiting numbers of customers within a facility on it to be able to do it. And they kind of have guidance for each section. The guidance documents online have been updated, and I know it's confusing for individuals because that guidance document changed. They put guidance out before the order was out, wording in the order changed, and then the guidance documents followed with some of that. So I really encourage people, read the order thoroughly and then go on and take a look on the coronavirus website for Ohio, go on and take a look at those guidance documents on it. The other thing that I would tell people to kind of keep in mind is this is the current order. This order will have to be amended as additional things kind of roll out. And I do believe from the communication we're receiving from the Ohio Department of Health, they are working, there are work groups, there are people who are working across the state very diligently in these work groups to look at these other business categories. We have been told by the Ohio Department of Health to expect an announcement probably tomorrow on a date for kind of moving restaurants forward a little bit. We'll kind of wait and see what that guidance is. But I think a lot of people are stuck on like, this is the order until, the end of May. I think this order will continue as they kind of look at things and look at trends with the disease, as well as, what's going on with businesses, they'll kind of continue to amend the order. So I do really encourage people, anytime the order is updated, to take a full look at everything that's in there. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out.
And before I let you go, what do you think the 12th looks like? I mean, I know that, things are scheduled to open back up on the 12th. What does that look like when it comes to these businesses?
So, really the 12th is kind of like opening back up retail, particularly on for the retail section. It kind of opens it up more broadly. So, the caveat in there on them opening May 1st was really about curbside pickup, delivery appointment only. The 12th opens it up more to them. They're still going to have to deal with social distancing within their facility on it. They still have to kind of meet some of those things that are on page 9 in that guidance document to be able to do it. But as long as they can do it, it does allow a fuller opening of retail. And
do you see anything, do you see maybe an additional clarification when it comes to these personal appearance and beauty, especially when it comes to hair salons? A lot of pushback that I've gotten is that, when it just comes to, I understand the piercing, the tattoos, that kind of stuff. I mean, we're in a whole different hygiene position there, but, a lot of people come back and said, I can limit, my salon to, 4 customers and put 8 feet between them and just one chair at a time. Any comment on that?
Yeah, I think we are going to get additional guidance coming on that also. I do know there's a work group on that. Those entities are licensed through the cosmetology board, and I think they are working very diligently. They just want to make sure that customers can be protected and workers can be protected. While I think they can socially distance, I think they really have to work out mask wearing if you're cutting an individual's hey, I'm sorry, I'll pick on myself and I desperately need a haircut too, but it's hard to wear a mask and have someone cut your hair. So I think they're going to have to work through that. And then there are times that you're really up in somebody's face when you're, trimming around the face, doing any type of thing with that. So I think they're going to work with it through that. There are work groups with businesses involved. I think there are kind of oversight licensing boards involved to work through what those guidance documents are going to look like as they start up. So I am anticipating we're going to get, some additional guidance and maybe an amended order about that, hopefully here in the future soon.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any other questions? Julianne, thanks for taking your time out always. You have a standing invitation to this meeting right off the bat. Any time that you have updated information. Again, thanks for participating.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we saw Julianne doesn't have a mask on because she's in her own office and I'm in my own office and took my mask off. I left it on only to allow people to know that I believe in masks, but I am sitting alone in an office, so as Julianne is.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Ed. And I do have my mask, and when we have common areas here, and as soon as I leave my closed door, it's on common areas, using the restroom, and really looking at changes in practices, because we are very much an office setting. So you can pick a phone up to have a phone call, or Zoom meeting, other things versus going and standing in somebody's office to have that conversation. So I think it's just, it is a new culture and it is difficult for all of us to get used to, but yes.
Thank you. Thanks again. And Ed, just to make a point there, you are joining us virtually. You're really not sitting beside me at the office, even though you have a background. Looks like you are.
Yes.
Anything else? Greg, we have any more updates?
That's it.
Okay. I will move to the agenda. C, we have a couple proclamations this morning. We have two. Dale Campfield is not here this morning, so I will do the Police Week proclamation first. Okay. Sheriff Leahy and Chief Stratton are here. Obviously, they're following the protocol for masks and social distancing. You know, these weeks come up pretty quick. You know, I mean, it's been quite a year. We'll say that for our guys in blue, and not only the sheriff's department in black and gold, but you know, for the rest of the police officers here in Clermont County. This morning, I'm honored to present this proclamation from May 10th through the 16th of 2020 as Police Week in Clermont County. Whereas Congress and the President of the United States of America has designated May 15th of each year as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas there are approximately 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the local law enforcement agencies in Clermont County. And whereas law enforcement officers are the guardians of life and property, defenders of individual rights, serving on the front lines in battle against crime, and dedicated to the preservation of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas Clermont County, Ohio, desires to honor the valor, service, and dedication of the men and women who have devoted their professional lives to serving and protecting the citizens of Clermont County. And whereas we, as citizens, need to pay tribute to the men and women who serve Clermont County in their capacity as law enforcement officers, it is important for citizens to show appreciation for the remarkable job being done by police officers across our county each and every day. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Clermont County Commissioners, formally designate May 10th through 16th, 2020 as Police Week in Clermont County, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in our communities across this nation. And it's signed by David L. Painter, President, Edwin H. Humphrey, Vice President, and Claire B. Corcoran, Member. Sheriff Leahy, Chris Stratton, Chief Stratton, on behalf of the Clermont County Board of Commissioners, I'd like to present this proclamation designating May 10th through 16th as Police Week in
Appreciate
Clermont
it.
County. The podium's yours.
I'd just like to thank the board for the recognition to our office, all law enforcement in the county, and our correction officers. Their week was last week, so we appreciate it, and we'll just continue to do what we're doing, and you know, you can count on the law enforcement in the county.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Leahy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Stratton. In addition, we have a second proclamation. And that proclamation is for the National Day of Prayer. This proclamation is declaring May 7th, 2020 as a day of prayer in Clermont County. Whereas days of prayer have been called for since 1775, when the Continental Congress designated a time for prayer in forming a new nation. And whereas in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed a proclamation asking Americans to set aside April 30th as a day to confess national sins and to pray for clemency and forgiveness. And whereas such a day has been observed nationally since 1952, when Congress and President Harry S. Truman provided for a national day of prayer on which the people of the United States may turn to God in prayer and meditation. And whereas Congress has called upon our citizens to reaffirm the role of prayer in our society, and whereas Clermont County is home to people who pray, seeking inspiration, strength, and guidance from God, and whereas the 68th Annual National Day of Prayer will be observed here in Clermont County on Thursday, May 7th, 2020, with this year's theme, Pray God's Glory Across the Earth. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that we, the Board of Clermont County Commissioners, do hereby designate the day of May 7th, 2020 as a day of prayer throughout Clermont County, and ask that all citizens celebrate their faith through prayer and reflect on our many blessings, express gratitude, and recognize the need for prayer in our lives. And I think we can all agree, if there was ever a time that we needed prayer in our lives, it's now. It's signed by the Board of Clermont County Commissioners, David L. Painter, President, Edwin H. Humphrey, Vice President, and Claire B. Corcoran, member of the Board of Clermont County Commissioners. On behalf of the Board of Clermont County Commissioners, I'd like to designate this proclamation for Dale Campbell. Dale Campbell has been instrumental in many, many years in helping us put together the National Day of Prayer that we usually hold on the courthouse steps. For those who are watching today, obviously we are very, very disappointed in not being able to have that particular gathering on the courthouse steps. But I do want to make you aware that National Day of Prayer observation will be done a little differently this year. And not through the Board of Clermont County Commissioners, but for those who are committed to here in Clermont County, they will be doing that National Day of Prayer at noon on May the 4th. They had a pray at the park schedule. Is that correct?
Yeah.
May 7th. I'm sorry about it. On May the 7th. And they are asking that people who want to participate in those to obviously remain socially distanced, physically distanced at those parks. You are more than welcome to bring your flags. People are going to walk around the park proper, those paths that they have around the park, to show their support for the National Day of Prayer. So if you would like to participate in that, by all means, do that in Clermont County. Obviously, we can't have a huge gathering of people. You know, it has to be done safely as people are enjoying the parks as they are now. So with that, I know this board is committed to the National Day of Prayer. And when this is all over, we will get back to our regular scheduled ability to have those festivities here in Clermont County and at the courthouse steps. I'm sorry Dale cannot be with us today. We'll see that he gets this proclamation. With that, we'll go to D, consent agenda. Board, I know a consent agenda has been prepared for us. You've had it early, had the opportunity to review it and go over any of the items that have been included on there. Are there any items that you need removed from the consent agenda for further discussion or consideration?
None.
None.
Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
A second.
Moved and received a second. Roll call, Judy.
Humphrey.
Aye.
Corcoran. Yes.
Yes. We'll go to E for the non-consent agenda, which starts on page 2 with item 4. The recommendation, the Board of Clermont County Commissioners adopt resolution number 060-20, resolving to approve payment in vendors in the revised amount of $1,904,363.68 as set forth in the BCC approval invoice report for checks dated May 6, 2020, BCC directed paid invoice reports and/or procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on 5/4/2020, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for the same pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy?
Corcoran. Yes. Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Painter.
Yes. Item number 5. Item number 5 is a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners adopt resolution number 061-20 resolving to approve payment to vendors included in the BCC approval invoice report for checks dated May the 6th, presented by the county auditor on 5/4/2020 is reflected in the vendor excerpt report prepared by the OMB in the amount of $19.80, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for the same pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion to pay the warrant in item 5?
So moved.
A second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Judy?
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Corcoran. Yes. Mr. Painter.
Abstain. Item number 6.
Good morning.
Morning.
Item 6 is a recommendation to execute record plat number 629-3212. And this is for the Billingsley subdivision, section 1 in Batavia Township. It's a $94,000 maintenance and $94,000 performance and a $10,000 maintenance bond and a $52,560 performance bond for sidewalks.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 6. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Anything further? Roll call, Judy?
Corcoran. Yes. Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Item 7.
All right, items 7, 8, and 9 are all related to our stormwater utility districts. And I'll start them one at a time. Item 7 is a recommendation to execute a contract for engineering services between the board and Jeremy Evans as the county engineer relative to the stormwater management services. This is in accordance with the scope of services identified in the contract, and an annual rate of $20,000 effective for calendar year 2020. This will be payable by the auditor as they typically do. The fee to cover those is derived from the resources of the stormwater funds or other sources the board may desire, but right now it's just stormwater funds. This contract is pursuant to section 611701C and 315.14 of the Ohio Revised Code. The contract we've had in place with the prior engineer, we need to redo one with our current county engineer. This is actually required also for the different districts that we established where we said the county engineer is the acting district utility director.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 7. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Anything further? Suki, worth a conversation about this. I know previously there were this agreement existed with the previous engineer, but there had been a additional agreement also that was through Union Township. Is that correct?
Right. When we first started stormwater, the section of code says you offer to the county engineer the ability to control that drainage section of 6117, and the county engineer accepted that. We entered into a contract originally, I don't remember how many years ago, for $20,000. We amended that contract and increased the dollar amount to $35,000, but we are now back to the $20,000.
So that is a savings of $15,000 from how it was actually managed before.
From the stormwater funds, right, from the revenues. I'll get into that a little bit with one of these other items.
Okay, no problem. Anything further, board?
No, thank you.
Roll call, Judy?
Corcoran. Yes. Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Item number 8.
Okay, item 8 is a recommendation to execute a memorandum of understanding for stormwater district duties. This is between the board and the county engineer, as well as the Clermont County Water Resources Department, in and as it relates to assessment and operation services for stormwater districts, and to allow for the provision of reimbursement of expenses for said services from the relevant stormwater district funds, therefore is more fully outlined therein. And this also will be effective for calendar year 2020, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms. This is a new agreement. We have not had one of these in place. The reason we are doing this is because these utility districts don't operate with just the county engineers as the sanitary engineer director of the district. It takes people from water resources effort to do the billings. They're the ones that are setting up the accounts and maintaining the billings every 2 months to the people in the utility districts. And it also takes some of the county engineers' support from their field people as far as ensuring what is happening out in the field. We do the upfront assessment of the infrastructure to determine what the potential for a district is. So some of that will be done by some of the actual county engineer staff. So what we'll be able to do now is charge that back off to where it needs to be, which is to the stormwater district funds.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 8. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion?
No.
Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Corcoran. Yes. Mr. Painter.
Yes. Item number 9.
Okay, item 9 is the one I was referring to a little bit ago. So this is a recommendation to authorize the issuance of a non-renewal notice to the Board of Township Trustees of Union Township. And this is in accordance with Article 3 of an agreement for stormwater management services that the board had entered into with Union Township in November of 2015, related to professional engineering and surveying services for stormwater management within the township. The reason we are going to non-renew this is that these services are provided to all the townships within the county under the contract that we just did for engineering services with the county engineer. And therefore, there's no longer a need to have a separate contract with Union Township for this. In accordance with that agreement, though, we have to send them a 60-day notice of non-renewal. So this will become effective calendar year 2021. And we'll tell them that we'll get the letter out as soon as we get this approved and let them know that we will not renew this. In that agreement, Union Township was paying into the county $15,000 a year that was going to the stormwater funds to help support the engineering contract for services. So we're going to non-renew this. We have made the $15,000 reduction in the contract, and the revenues that were for that increase were here. So now that they're gone, the increase is going away.
Okay. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 9. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran. Yes. Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Item number 10. Thanks, Suki.
Well, I'll do number 10 for you if you're okay with that.
Okay.
It's because it relates to the TID. So item 10 is a recommendation to approve and sign a letter of support for the Clermont County Transportation Improvement District grant application for the 2020 Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission, Appalachian Regional Commission for Access Road Program funding in and as it relates to the Eichholz Road Roundabout project in Union Township. As you know, on the TID RTIP, there is still an Eichholz Road Roundabout project. We are working to make sure that we have enough local funds to cover that with some of the overruns we've had on some of the other projects. So this will hopefully get us some additional revenues to help support that project.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 10. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second.
Been moved and received a second. Anything further? Suki, you mentioned about getting additional funds, and I know it's some time ago there was a conversation about this. Where do we, since you did mention that, where do we stand on that TID funding?
On a global look, we
Yeah.
are still running. We are going to run a little bit short of having all of our available funds for the Eichholz project. We are still in appropriation process for some of the right-of-way on Old 74. So until that gets finalized, I won't know exactly the level of funds that we have to hold for those right-of-ways. So as I spoke to you last year about where we stood, we're a little bit better. We cut back the ITS phase 3 scope somewhat, but it still isn't to the point where we know exactly where the revenues are coming at the time frame that we need them to continue this project.
But this, what I was just pointing out, this was the project that we had talked about at that time that had the possibility of not going forward. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Any other further discussion, board? Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Yes. Item number 11.
I'll take number 11, 12, and 13, I believe.
Okay.
11 is the recommendation to approve the request of T. David Burgess. He's an attorney at law in Williamsburg and the designated agent for the petitioner Kent Martin and Tammy Martin to withdraw their petition for annexation of 5.001 acres from Williamsburg Township to the village of Williamsburg, and comprising all of parcel identification number 52, 35, 051, 029. It was previously filed on February 12, 2020, and thereafter acknowledged by the Board of County Commissioners on Wednesday, February 19, 2020, wherein pursuant to and in compliance with Section 70903 of the Ohio Revised Code, the date, time, and location of the public hearing required therefore was scheduled to be held this date at 11 a.m. during regular session, and as a result thereby, said public hearing is canceled.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 11. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Item 12.
Item 12 is a request of the Batavia Township Board of Trustees to initiate procedures to change the name of Charmely Drive, designated as T-526, to Clementine Court, located in Batavia Township, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place the notice of public hearing in the Clermont Sun for 1 week, commencing on Thursday, May 14th, 2020, designating the date, time, and location of the public hearing to be held thereon pursuant to and in compliance with Section 5541.04 of the Ohio Revised Code. Public hearing to be held on Wednesday, June 10th, 2020 at 11 a.m. local time in the offices of the Board of County Commissioners, Clermont County, Ohio, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, Ohio, 45103.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 12. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second.
Been moved, received a second. Anything further? Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Item number 13.
Item number 13 is a recommendation of Thomas J. Igoe County Administrator to acknowledge that on April 13th, 2020, the Board of County Commissioners received a copy of Resolution 2020-08, heretofore adopted by the Board of Union Township Trustees on April 9th, 2020, requesting the Board of County Commissioners to vacate a portion of Fisher Lane situated within Fisher subdivision located in Union Township as described therein, pursuant to and in compliance with Section 5553.045 of the Ohio Revised Code, to accept the preliminary report of the county engineer dated April 17th, 2020, in and as it relates to the aforestated request, and to establish the date, time, and location of the public hearing in accordance therewith. Public hearings to be held on Wednesday, May 27th, 2020 at 11 a.m. in the office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, Ohio, 45103. Commissioner Humphrey had indicated thinking we needed to have a viewing and prior to the public hearing, but this is the new section of the code, new as far as the year 2004. And we've done this a few times for both Miami and what's the other township we did it for? I definitely know we did it for Batavia before, most recently. And this is so that we can avoid publication expenditures in the newspaper. We still have to send notice to the abutting property owners. And so that we can just proceed with the legal notice or proceed with the legal proceedings in order to proceed with their request to vacate.
Okay.
There are some issues with this that we've been dealing with, and we hope to have them all in a row, such as a conflict where we would have lots that would create a conflict. And so we're working to get a record plat ready So before the board would take action or in concert with the action they would take, if we don't get it before May 27th, we would be able to do it contingent on the receipt of that. And after that public hearing, if the board would so choose, we could move to do the record plat and then do the resolution to vacate and have it complete.
And the vacation that's being requested is for the use of.
Fisher Lane,
Is it for widening? Is it for?
it's because I think they believe they want to choose to develop it in a way in which they're unable to develop it at this point in time as a result of those two lots.
Okay.
Okay. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 13. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
It's been moved and it's received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Commissioner Humphrey, did you have some comments about this one?
No, my concern was that we may have needed to go actually visit, because I know that on vacations of right away, we have done that in the past, but Judith straightened me out on that, so I appreciate it.
And my comment, board, would be we might want to go take a look at this. I'm not opposed to doing that.
We can go look at it. Commissioner Humphrey, is that all right with you?
I don't feel that I need to look at it. I've seen the plat, so I'm okay.
We can individually go if we need to.
If you so choose, it's not a requirement and
Okay.
will not be acknowledged within this particular section of the statute.
Right. Thank you,
Okay.
Judy.
All right. Anything further? Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Humphrey,
Aye.
Painter,
Yes. Item number 14.
I'll handle that one. Recommendation of Mary Raines, Director of Office Management Budget, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to resolve and approve and authorize changes in the annual appropriation resolution number 191-19 for calendar year 2020 pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code section 5705.40 as outlined in the following table, and to authorize Linda L. Fraley, County Auditor, to properly record same.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 14 for a change in appropriations. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and received a second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Judy.
Humphrey,
Aye.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Painter,
Yes. That concludes our non-consent agenda as presented. F, additions to the agenda. Do we have any additions this morning?
We do have one for your consideration.
Okay.
Reference an application for federal assistance to the Federal Aviation Administration as part of the CARES Act in the amount of $69,000.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to add an item to the agenda for consideration of an FAA application for $69,000 in a grant for the airport, I would assume. Do I have a motion to add it to the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved and received a second. Roll call, Judy.
Humphrey,
Aye.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Painter,
Yes. Go ahead, Greg.
So this is, I'll read this here and then we can discuss it if need be. Recommendation to adopt a resolution resolving to authorize Thomas J. Agel, County Administrator, to file an application for federal assistance, OMB SF 424, including furnishing such additional information as required in connection with the application on behalf of the Clermont County Board of Commissioners with the Federal Aviation Administration under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act in the amount of $69,000 pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein.
Board, you heard the reading of the recommendation for resolution. Do I have a motion for approval?
Painter, I'd like to point out that that next resolution number will be 062-20.
062-20. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Discussion after, or you want a second from me? I have a
It's
second.
been moved and we have a second.
I'm sorry, did you second it? This is-
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Been moved and we have a second. Any further conversation or discussion?
Yes, I'd like to know, this is for paving, is that correct?
That's
Is that what we were
correct.
talking
Paving
about?
and striping and other runway work that we were required to complete. We are potentially eligible for reimbursement up to $69,000 for those funds.
And if I remember that actually came through and it's identified as operational expenses.
That's correct.
Which can be paving, fencing,
Correct.
all the things that we do as the legal owner of the property.
That's correct. Yes.
What's the connection with the coronavirus?
Well,
That's just where it came from, right?
Yeah,
It's
the-
part of the CARES Act.
right. The CARES Act authorized additional funding to airports such as ours,
Okay,
potentially. So we're just going to try to take advantage of it.
okay, just for
Yep.
clarification. Thank you.
I think that was the designated amount we were notified of.
That's correct.
Not
Right.
some number that we just picked out. to
Yes.
say-
Correct. In most airports of our size and our type, you got the exact same amount.
Yeah,
Okay.
So-
each one of the airports would set aside a particular amount. and the
Correct.
CARES Act and ours was 69,000.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything further?
That's all I have.
Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran,
Yes,
Mr. Painter,
Yes. Any other additions to the agenda? Then we'll move to G, county elected official discussion. Any county or elected official staff that would like to talk to the board this morning?
To my knowledge, there is none this morning.
Okay. Then I'll move to H for members' comment. Board members, any comments today? How do you like having to wear a mask and something that
I
takes
took
away
mine off. I hate it, but it is what it is. I am at home alone in a room, so it's okay. I'm not required to wear a mask. I know you all are.
Understood. And I would just like to say, not to point anybody out, but it's necessary to do so. Some of the masks that are being donned today were made by one of our own staff members. And that staff member is here at the desk with us, and that's Holly Cruey. Holly, thanks so much for putting your seamstress talents together to make sure we are all properly masked. And I thank you for that. It's not something that you're required to do. It's not something that you're paid to do. It's something that you did because you have a commitment to service. And we appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You bet. Anything, and Greg Bigford there is modeling his UC mask.
My wife for that.
Which is very fitting because I understand that you may well be a Bearcat. Is that correct?
Bearcat.
I
All
get
right.
that.
Mr. Eigel is not, so this is
this works.
exactly.
And although Judy is missing an insignia from a university, I would have to say that blue she has on is very close to Michigan.
Mason blue.
Yes, maize and blue. I mean, that would be a Michigan color, right? Because
They're not here because
Chief Stratton would take great exception to that.
they both do, and they bring it to my attention on a regular basis, of which they get it back tenfold.
Good.
Before we close, Commissioner Corcoran, Commissioner Humphrey, if you have any additional comments, I realize this is a trying time. Many people are running out of patience. It's tough to be sequestered at home and in business for this amount of time. Patience is definitely a virtue. And, I would ask that all Clermont County citizens be patient, understand your safety is first. I've read all the articles, everything that comes from medical positions to conspiracy theories to all of that's out there. I would encourage you, if you have questions about COVID-19, talk to someone who's right in the middle of the fight. Talk to first responders, talk to people who are working in our hospitals, ask them their opinions, get good medical professional opinions before you develop your own opinion. And what I would tell you is that everybody is working hard to try and open up Clermont County as quickly as possible. We understand that this is a hardship. We're in this together. Continue the fight. Do what you need to do to take care of your safety and your family's safety. And we'll join you back here next week.
Commissioner, one other thing, notice did come out, it's a recommendation from the EPA that for all businesses that will be opening up soon, make sure you flush your water supplies. That includes the public drinking fountains. The last thing we want to do is have people become contaminated with lead or copper, and making sure that all unoccupied or partially unoccupied businesses are taken care of before we put employees back in those businesses. Thank you to everyone for helping us stay safe and adjusting to our new way of life.
And before I ask for a motion to adjourn, one of the things that I would say is that, on behalf of the commissioners, if you all would just stand for a second. Today is
Stand, Ed.
Today is
Standing.
National Nurses Day. And if there ever was a day to say thank you to those professionals who are on the front lines that are licensed nurses and even those who practice the nursing profession that are in other facilities around our county as far as adult daycare and senior services. We thank you, nurses, for all that you do. And if we can be of any assistance to you here at the Board of Clermont County Commissioners, we understand how important you are to a vital community. We ask that, may our recognition of you this morning, uplift you and that you're held very closely to our hearts, and that we appreciate all that you do and the sacrifices that your families make that let you go to work every day to take care of those who need your help. Thank you sincerely. And with that, Board, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Make the motion.
Second.
Been moved, received a second. Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Humphrey,
Aye.
Painter.
Yes. And with that, we stand in adjournment. Thank you for attending today's meeting. We will see you this coming Wednesday. Stay safe and be protective of your families. Thank you for being with us today.